say thank you for coming here today. I know there's a million other things that you could have been doing, and so really I'm always grateful when one person shows up. So the fact that you're all here today, I'm going to do my best to make this a valuable time for you. I know that I've done probably about 1,000 of these now, so I'm not going to stand up and sort of give a rehearsed speech or make it static. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me. If you have trouble understanding, just nod your head and smile. That's what everyone else does. I'm from Australia, so I do talk funny. But what I'm going to talk about today is the Healthy Quest Lunch at Home. Now, whenever I do these presentations, people walk in and it's kind of like if you've been to the sort of sometimes these presentations can be fun, sometimes they can be kind of painful. So I don't want it to be like that. In fact, sometimes I know people will look at it and they'll say, okay, what this really should be titled is How to Live a Miserable Existence Devoid of Food You Love Me, Present Whatsoever. And I'm going to do my best to not make it that today. I'm going to do my best to make it something where you can sort of get something out of it. It's a strategy that you can use. I'm going to talk about a bunch of different ideas. But to me, what's most important is not that I stand here and go, hey, did you know how many calories are in this food? What I'd rather do is, because I know you have that information. I know you guys already have a great program in place. What I want to do is bring information today that will hopefully complement the information that you're getting, that will build on what you've got. And I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to look at some strategies. I'm going to look at some things that when I've had, we have a small studio just up on 18th and Broadway where we do small group trainings and we do a lot of work with people in terms of nutrition, lifestyle, physical fitness, stuff like that. When clients really make a big difference is when they actually start to address some of those strategies. And I'm going to use a phrase a few times in this presentation. I'm going to say, it's not about willpower, it's about strategies. If we can put the right strategies in place, we don't need willpower. We've all been in that stage of our lives where we went out Saturday night, maybe kissed a boy, then we had to tell our boyfriend about it next day, and he was like, why were you at his house drunk anyway? And we go, oh man, if I hadn't been there drunk, then maybe we wouldn't have. Maybe I'd done a study goal, like told my parents I would. Alright, we've been there. So first things first, I want to talk about this briefly because it's part of the reason why we're not all in the amazing shape that we want to be in and living the amazing lives with the healthy, invigorating selves that we want to be. The top picture, if you can't see it at the back, is basically at a gym. Krispy Kreme has sponsored some donuts and coffee. Yeah, some Krispy Kreme. And while they might see it as a great cross-promotional tool, my fear is this, is that foods which we in our hearts know to be healthy, and foods that we know to be unhealthy, we continue to budge the line. We continue to convince ourselves that it's not so bad. That muffin has nuts in it. Things like that. If we're honest with ourselves and we draw our own personal line, then we know what sort of situations we want to allow ourselves to get into and what we can do beforehand if we're stepping into a situation where we know there's going to be temptation. If we can plan ahead, then maybe we can start to make subtle changes so that we don't have this angst-racking feeling when someone offers us some food and we refuse it, worrying that we're going to hurt their feelings. Now here we have an exercise bike. Someone has an exercise bike and they have used the drink holder as a peanut M&M packet holder. Pretty innovative, I thought. I'm not sure about the balance. That's another part, is that we have this misconception that we can go to the gym and exercise and then that'll work off the amount of calories that we took in. And it's one of those things that we do a really good job of fooling ourselves at. Kind of like thinking, oh, I deserve it. I worked out, so I deserve it. What we don't realize is actually how little exercise burns calories. Now, over time, don't get me wrong, exercise burns a large amount of calories. But truly, to me, and I'm going to say it as the fitness guy, I'm going to say that you'll get the majority of your benefits from watching what you eat. But you'll get a large amount of benefits, not weight-related, from being active. And what I mean by that is energy, better quality of sleep, better level of alertness, the ability to understand what the Australian in the front room is saying, stuff like that. Good. And here we have just this picture. Every time I see it, it makes me a little sad because this poor woman couldn't wait long enough in line at Burger King, so she grabbed a chair, sat down. Too much for her. I can appreciate say maybe with a long line, maybe the guy in front had a big order, something like that. To me, if I look at this, it's kind of one of these things where it's becoming a downward spiral. It's becoming something where we know we should eat these things, but man, it's what I do every day. It's a habit. And then that habit builds on itself, and then I feel bad, so then I eat more food that makes me feel bad. And I don't want anyone to feel, if anyone's eating food today that they don't feel is ideally healthy, I don't want you to feel that I'm judging you at all. There is absolutely zero judgment coming from me. Zero, zero, zero. Because it's all about making choices on a regular basis, but no one choice breaks. Many years ago I played professional basketball, and I remember losing this game and being distraught. Because I had the game-winning shot and I'd missed it. And the coach kind of patted me on the back and he said, hey, no one shot ever decides the game. Sure, you had the shot at the end, you blew it, you're a joke. But I cried a little bit more. But he said no one shot determines it. No one meal, no one food choice is going to determine where we are in terms of our lives and how we are. However, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, we can be good to ourselves and eat the foods that we decide that this is our line. I'm going to make a decision right now, this is my line. And I'm not going to eat these foods unless it's part of the plan, unless it's part of my strategy. Because I don't want to be here today to say, never ever eat certain foods again, because I know that you're going to. And you know that you're going to. Let's be honest. Let's say, okay, if you are going to eat those foods, how can we minimize the damage of those foods? Part of the reason we're here is because there's a really simplistic approach called calories in, calories out. And again, I'm going to say, if we look at willpower, I can say, great, I'm going to eat 1,600 calories of food in the morning, maybe 3 donuts, and then I'll have nothing for the rest of the day. Okay, maybe some water. I'll drink water. And if we look at activity, maybe I'll be a little bit active, so that'll reduce some of those calories, and then I'll end up with a balance, and I'll be in the negative. The strategy is flawed. The strategy is terrible. Because towards the end of the day, I'm going to be looking at everyone else eating, I'll be driving home, feeling really dizzy, bumping into cars. I'll get home, I'll be like, okay, I'm really hungry. Maybe my roommate's brought home some pizza, and I'm like, okay, I'll smother him with a pillow so I can steal his pizza. I don't think I do anything for food at that stage. However, if we plan our calories, if we're counting calories over the course of the day, or our points if we're on Weight Watchers, or whatever system you're using, if we tweak the strategy, if we're really focused on the strategy so it fits me, maybe I know that I always feel dizzy in the afternoon. Or maybe I know that if I don't have a big breakfast, man, I'm done for the day. Everyone in here has individual tweaks. If we pay attention to it, we'll realize what's happening to our body. Calories in, calories out doesn't account for individual preferences, individual needs, individual strategies. So, while I love this model, it's very simple. It's very simple, and I love explaining to people it's the place to start. But once we're past the starting place, and you guys all have that knowledge, once we're past that starting place, then we need to move forward. To say, okay, knowing about the calories and the activity got me to a certain point, to a certain place. What's next? What's next in line for me? So this woman is very actively protesting. She's saying, "Down with bad stuff." The supplement base. When we look at supplements, so we look at the way we've lost weight historically, and some of the flaws in that. Supplement base, I've had plenty of clients who have come to me because they've taken supplements, they've lost 50, 60, 70 pounds, then they stopped taking the supplement, and surprise, surprise, the weight came back. So it's a flawed strategy. And also what it does is basically accelerate metabolism, speed up our digestion, drain us of water. So we look great, but really what we haven't learned is the strategies we need to prevent it coming back. Biggest Loser. Anyone watches Biggest Loser? I love watching the last 15, 20 minutes. I can't stand the challenges they do. Watching a 400-pound man carry a 300-pound woman up a hill on sand. Just I'm cringing and sort of crying and shouting at the same time. And then I'm waiting for a kneecap to just flow off across the screen. But the last 15 minutes, I love it because they talk about the changes they've made and the things they've done. And then they go home. And they go home to their friends and their family and their situation and their environments and their habits that got them to 400 pounds in the first place. And surprise, surprise, about 70-75% of our Biggest Loser contestants gain all the way back. If you've ever watched when they do the tribute show and they get the old contestants back, You know, and they have someone run along in the marathon, you're like, that guy looked a lot leaner when he finished the season. I remember seeing him. And then all of a sudden he's kind of chuckling along, helping someone run a marathon. I don't want to be critical of Biggest Loser. It's inspired many people. I just think that it's one of those things that if we look at, okay, where does this change come from? It comes from our selection of strategy. And maybe to some extent, you know, the social groups that we hang out with, how often we hang out with those social groups, how we hang out with those social groups, what we do to prepare for that social group. I'm being a little elusive, but an example might be, if I know the Super Bowl Sunday, okay, maybe, just maybe, you guys will go and have a drink. Maybe there'll be some dip, maybe some ranch with chips, okay, some other food like that. And what I would say is, if you're selecting a food that is bad for you, and you are hungry, you're probably going to eat more of it. However, if before you left to go to the party, you filled up on a big old salad and some chicken breast, okay, then you walk in there and someone goes, hey, try some of this, you're like, oh, give me a few minutes. I'm stuffed, I just had lunch. Like, you just had lunch, come on, it's great. Okay? And then by the time you're ready to try some, you'll try some. You want to inhale some, you'll try some. And by using that simple strategy of knowing there's going to be bad food there, but stepping ahead and going, okay, let me think ahead of this is going to happen, I know that's going to happen. Let me fill up here so I step in and it's easy for me to say, oh, I'll try just a little bit. Let me try just a little bit. As opposed to going, oh great, I haven't eaten anything all day. Okay? That's me done, you did not just. In the 80s we had no fat. No fat, fat is bad. Who remembers Susan Stop the Insanity? Anyone? Yes, thank you. Right, so and then it was like, fat makes you fat, right? And then everyone was like, okay, no fat. I said no fat. And everyone had these foods that were like super high in sugar, but had no fat. Even today, you see yogurts that say 0 fat. You know, the water, 0 cholesterol. Okay, great. Like they're promoting things to us because they know we're scared of it. But they're sneaking other things in. In the 90s, it was no sugar. Okay, no sugar, Atkins diet. Everyone's, let's do Atkins. Alright, so Atkins, everyone did Atkins, and then their breath smelled, and they kind of felt funny, and then they went off it, and it fell right back up. So let's say this. Let's say that for some people, no fat might work great. For some people, no sugar might work great. What's up to us is to say, am I looking to be in a figure model competition in 6 months? If the answer is no, then maybe what I'm looking for is a habit that I can maintain long term. Not something that I can do for a 6-week challenge, although the 6-week challenges are great, and knowing and measuring things so you can have something to work towards, a short-term and a long-term goal, is excellent. But really, if we can find a habit, if we can find a line and say, I eat this when I do that. You know, we don't brush our teeth selectively. That's a habit. We brush our teeth, we don't brush our teeth. Have the after meals, and you let these people carry around the toothbrush and have it after every time you have a bite to eat or something. I have much respect for you if you do that. And then always no food. I'm so fat, I'm just not going to eat anything ever again. If you haven't said that, you've heard that. Okay. We go, never again. No, just not until I'm skinny and then I'll eat again. And then, of course, willpower breaks down. Our body's really smart. If we eat nothing, then the metabolism just goes, all right, smart guy, no worries. Let's see how you are 2-3 days from now when you're totally sluggish because I've slowed down your metabolism because you're not giving me any food. We need to be sneaky. We need to be sneaky with our metabolism. We need to make subtle changes. Major changes will scare the body. The body will slow itself down. It'll make adjustments. It'll make changes to try and avoid the fat loss that you've got. From an evolutionary perspective, we are these creatures that grew up wanting to preserve fat. The body wants to hang on to that fat. That fat means when it gets winter and we can't find a mammoth, all right, everybody's going to have something to live off of. Mammoth? All right, what's happening to me?